Do any of these sound familiar? You eat something you've always eaten and suddenly you're bloated or exhausted or craving more food an hour later. You feel tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. You're getting stronger energy crashes in the afternoon, or you have sugar cravings that feel impossible to ignore. And you never used to be someone who craved sweet things. And of course, there's the stubborn belly fat around the middle that just won't move no matter what you do. If you're nodding right now, then this video is for you, because these things are all connected and they all trace back to something that is incredibly common in women over 40 and almost never clearly explained, and that's called insulin resistance. So insulin resistance becomes significantly more common during perimenopause and menopause, even in women who were metabolically healthy before. And most of the advice that we get to eat less, move more, and cut calories doesn't address any of this mechanism at all. So today I want to help break it down in a way that actually helps you understand what's going on in your body. Because once you understand this piece, a lot of other things will start to make sense. Hi, I'm Adelaide B. I'm a certified personal trainer with a degree in sport and exercise science and a master's in psychology. And I've been 15 years in the pharmaceutical business in my previous role educating health professionals on this very subject. So let's go. So let's start at the beginning, because insulin resistance sounds clinical, but the concept is actually really straightforward. So when you eat, your body breaks food down into glucose, which is sugar, which goes into your bloodstream. And your pancreas then releases a hormone, which is insulin, that moves this glucose from your bloodstream into the cells where it's going to be used for energy. So insulin kind of acts like a key, and it knocks on the door to these cells and says, hey, let the sugar in, use it for energy. And under normal circumstances, your cells open the door, sugar gets in, and you have energy, and the whole system works. Insulin resistance is when your cells stop responding to that knock. The key is there, the door just isn't opening. So what happens is your pancreas panics a little, and it kind of thinks, hey, the cells didn't hear me, I need to produce more insulin. So it produces more and more, trying to get the cells to respond. And then for a while, your blood sugar actually will stay controlled because your pancreas is overcompensating, but your insulin levels are now chronically high, and that is where the problem starts. Insulin resistance isn't exclusive to midlife. It can happen at any age. But in perimenopause, something specific happens that makes women significantly more vulnerable, and that is estrogen. In my belly fat in perimenopause and menopause video, I talked about how estrogen affects where our body stores fat. But here's what else estrogen does that doesn't always get explained and talked about. And it's that estrogen helps your cells stay sensitive to insulin. It essentially keeps that door opening mechanism working properly. So when estrogen is more stable, which is most of your reproductive years, your cells are more responsive. Sugar gets processed more efficiently and your energy levels are balanced. But as estrogen levels start to fluctuate and decline in perimenopause, that protective effect weakens. Your muscles in particular become less responsive to insulin, and muscle, as I covered in my belly fat and perimenopause videos, are one of the main places your body is supposed to send glucose for energy. So if your muscle cells are less responsive, and then there's less muscle overall, which is sarcopenia, as we age, we lose muscle mass, the glucose has fewer places to go. So it ends up staying in the bloodstream longer, and then insulin keeps getting released. And over time, the system becomes more and more resistant. And this could be happening in your body right now, even if your routine blood tests look completely normal, because standard blood tests, which is the HbA1c, the blood glucose test, doesn't check your fasting insulin levels. So insulin resistance develops gradually and may not always show up on these standard tests early on. And that's one of the many reasons women are told everything looks fine and still they may feel like something is off. So this is the part I really want you to sit with, because insulin resistance doesn't always come with a diagnosis. For a lot of women, it can show up as a collection of things that feel slightly off. And sometimes it's easy to dismiss that as just getting older. So here are some of the signs that often go unrecognized. Belly fat that won't move despite diet and exercise. Strong sugar or carb cravings, especially after meals. Energy crashes in the afternoon. Feeling tired even after a good full night's sleep. Brain fog, that foggy, can't quite focus feeling. Feeling hungry shortly after eating. Mood dips or irritability when you haven't eaten. And difficulty losing weight even when you're eating well. So none of these sound like a blood sugar problem, do they? But they can all be driven by chronically elevated insulin levels, because when your cells aren't taking up glucose properly, your brain and body are essentially running on low fuel. Even when there's plenty of food and fuel coming in, your cells just aren't responding efficiently to the fuel available. So you can feel overfed and under-energized at the same time. So your body keeps sending those hunger signals and those craving signals, trying to solve a problem that more food doesn't actually fix. And here's something really important. You don't have to be overweight to have insulin resistance. You can't look at someone and know their metabolic health, because a lot of women in this community are active. They eat well. They're not carrying significant amount of extra weight, and still they have signs of this, because it's not about appearance. It's about how your cells are functioning. So let's connect this directly to the belly fat piece, because this is the link that most fitness content completely misses. So when glucose can't get into your muscle cells efficiently, it doesn't just disappear. Your body has to do something with it because it's in the bloodstream. So the liver stores some of it, but excess glucose can eventually be converted into fat. And here's the critical part. So elevated insulin activity blocks your body from breaking down the fat stored on you for energy. So I really want you to think about what that means. When your insulin levels are chronically high, you are essentially in a state where your body is storing fat and at the same time being prevented from releasing it. So this is why some women feel like they're holding onto body fat with a grip that no amount of restriction seems to loosen. It's a hormonal signaling problem. In my video on belly fat and menopause and perimenopause, I talk about how estrogen helps decide where the body stores fat, and the midsection tends to be the area because the midsection has more storage signals, more receptors for these storage signals. So it tends to be where fat accumulates. So calories still matter, but it's these hormonal changes that strongly influence how your body responds to them. So eating less doesn't fix that mechanism. Doing more cardio doesn't fix that mechanism. In fact, these approaches are adding more stress to an already stressed system, and they can make the insulin picture worse, not better. So the approach has to match the problem, and the problem itself is hormonal. Here's what makes it particularly frustrating, and I want to be really honest with you about this. Insulin resistance and visceral fat, which is the fat stored around your abdominal area, which is around your organs in the midsection, they feed off each other. Visceral fat is not just stored energy, it is metabolically active, and it releases inflammatory molecules and hormones, and it's these hormones and molecules that make your cells even more resistant to insulin. So more insulin resistance leads to more visceral fat, and the more visceral fat worsens insulin resistance, and we go round and around. And then you add in poor sleep, which raises your cortisol levels, which is that stress hormone, which in turn triggers your blood sugar levels to rise, which in turn triggers more insulin. And then you add in the stress of life in your 40s, the work, the family, the mental load. Again, it can increase your stress hormone levels, and it's a system. And when multiple parts of that system are under pressure at the same time, which is exactly what happens during perimenopause, the effects compound. So I'm not telling you this to overwhelm you. I'm telling you this so that you can understand the cycle, as that's the first step to interrupting it. So here's the genuinely good news. This cycle is highly, highly responsive to lifestyle changes, more so than other conditions, because the body just wants to find balance and it just needs the right input. So what does work? So I want to give you a framework that the research consistently supports, and not a rigid plan, because everyone is different. So number one, it's strength training. So this is the most powerful tool you have for improving insulin sensitivity. So when you build and maintain muscle, you're creating more places for that insulin to go. It's just more capacity in the system. So muscle contraction improves insulin sensitivity independently of hormones, meaning that even one strength training workout can improve how your cells respond to insulin for the next 24 to 48 hours. So this is why strength training is non-negotiable after 40, not just for how you look, but for how your body functions metabolically. Number two, protein and fiber first. So including protein and fiber with meals, especially before or alongside carbohydrates, slows down how quickly glucose enters your bloodstream. So it smooths out those blood sugar spikes, so it ends up sort of not releasing as much insulin, which means that the cycle can actually quiet down. You're not doing this with the insulin spikes. So this isn't about cutting carbs entirely. It's about the order and the quality of the food that you're eating, and making sure that you're getting enough protein to protect and build muscle. Number three, sleep and stress. Seriously, I know I have mentioned this before, but I want to be really clear about the mechanism. Poor sleep and chronic stress both raise cortisol, which is that stress hormone. And cortisol directly raises your blood sugar because your body thinks you're in danger and it needs the fuel now. So every night of broken sleep, every week of sustained chronic stress and pressure, it's adding to that insulin load. So treat sleep and stress management as health interventions, not as luxury lifestyles. Number four, movement throughout the day, not just in workouts. So even short walks after meals have shown to improve blood sugar regulation. So moving your muscles helps them take up glucose. You don't need to add more formal exercises. Just reduce long periods of sitting, especially after meals. So none of these are extreme. None of them require you to go on some restrictive diet or punish yourself, but they do require understanding and then making choices that match your physiology. I want to leave you with this. If you feel like you've been doing everything right, but still struggling, if you feel like the results don't match the amount of effort, there could be a real physiological reason for this. It's not your discipline. It's not age beating you. It's a system that has shifted. And a system that has shifted needs a different approach, not a harder version of the same one. Insulin resistance is really common during perimenopause. It's real and it's absolutely something that you can work with. The body is incredibly responsive when you give it what it actually needs at this stage of life. You're not behind, you're not broken, your body's physiology is changing, so your approach needs to change with it. And that is exactly what this series is here for. In the next video, I'm going to go deep on muscles, why building muscle is the single most important thing you can do at this stage of your life for your metabolic health, for your longevity, and your body composition after 40, and how to start even if you've never started strength training before. So if this video explains something you've been trying to figure out for a while, share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear it. The more women in midlife who have access to this information, the better. Also, before you go, I would love to know which of those signs that go undiagnosed most surprised you or made something click, a light bulb go off in your head. So let me know below. I read every single comment. So I'll see you in the next video. Have a fantastic day.